The universe is mental. Reality is not outside of you. Reality is in here. It doesn't take looking at and responding to, an Indian guru sitting on a mountain somewhere to get the most wisdom, because the most wisdom comes from inside here. And while this is a difficult concept for most people to grasp, think about it this way. How can two very similar people living a very similar life have two very different experiences? It's all in how they're reacting to the experience. It's all how they're responding to stuff. So think of it like a video game, the video game of life. And say you're playing as Donkey Kong. And each time you play the video game, if you play it enough times, you learn the strategies behind the game. You learn how to overcome those mountains or the obstacles or opponents that are in your way. And each time you play, you respond differently. You use a different strategy. You shift it a little bit. So that's kind of what we do in life, in this video game of life. We have to shift our strategy and the experience becomes different. So that is where the universe is inside of us, you could say. But this video is not about video games, okay? This video, I'm going to talk about the inner world versus our outer world, connecting the two, unifying the two, and also talk about synchronicities and how synchronicities and dreams are basically like this bonding, or the connection between the outer and the inner, the higher and the lower realms. So sit tight, we have a lot of information on this one. Most people pass off synchronicities as either nonsense or coincidences, or their dreams as nonsense, versus you have the other side of people who read too much into signs and symbols and they become obsessed with it almost, where they can't live their life in a grounded way because they're always relying on external powers, external universe, cosmic forces to teach them where they need to go. So where do we find that balance between these two things? And here's why we don't have that balance, first of all. So think of children. Children can have imaginary friends. And when children have imaginary friends, it's cute, right? Oh, she's talking to herself, whatever. But when adults have imaginary friends, it's disruptive, it's distracting, it's disturbing in a sort of way. And we find that, if an adult has imaginary friends, it can be a coping mechanism just like it is for children. But the fact is, we don't school ourselves in the language of our inner world and connecting our inner language to the outer world. So I'm going to call it the inner universe. So we say it's universe, cosmic, but it's universe, Y-O-U, because basically when we are, connecting to something higher, it's not something outside of ourselves. We're basically connecting to ourselves, or a higher self, you could say. And this might be confusing for some people, but think of it this way. It's kind of like whatever you believe, religion, stuff, these are just my thoughts on it. So a lot of times, when we're talking about the universe or higher power, or an entity or somebody you might pray to or really put your trust and your faith, it's looking at it, from the human perspective. We're separating ourselves from that entity, right? The entity is above us because we put our faith in that. But in my opinion, it's basically just another component of ourselves, another realm, another dimension of ourselves, you could say, our higher self. And when we are putting our faith in that higher power, we're putting their faith in our higher power, meaning our higher self. So as we got older, we never learned the language of bridging the gap between the inner and the outer, between the ego, conscious human self and the higher self. So in ancient Taoism, they talk a lot about the concept between heaven and earth. And I'm not going to talk heaven in the religious sense, whatever you believe, but heaven in the sense of the cosmic world, the universe, right? What's beyond just this earth, what's beyond the human form. So we have heaven, which in like ancient Chinese medicine, heaven can be associated with yang, associated with the spirit, associated with something called Shen, which is our connection to your cosmic self, basically. And then we have yang, and then we have yin. So we have heaven and we have earth. And earth is our conscious ego self grounded in this reality, on this planet Earth. And what happens a lot of time is that people are living either too much in their human ego, or they're just living beyond, the same type of people who might be obsessed with symbols and the forces of the universe and stuff. They don't have the connection between these two things. They're either up here or they're down here. But there's a middle place, right? There's a middle place, and that is where possibility lives. That is where, creative energy is born, because we know that we have this higher self to us, but we also know that we're grounded and rooted in reality, and we have both, and we kind of move back and forth between these two realms of our higher self and our conscious ego self. But this is where something like synchronicity comes in. So synchronicity or even dream states. It's basically bridging the gap between the upper and the lower realms, between our higher self, between spirit, between heaven, and between the ego, conscious self, earth, like our biology, our constitution, what's grounding us here on earth. So when we have little synchronicities, we have our dream states, it's like opening a doorway into that other realm that maybe we're not familiar with. And that's why oftentimes we think it's weird, dreams are weird, synchronicities are just a coincidence, because obviously they don't happen every day, or when they happen, it's kind of weird, like it's outside the realm of what we know in reality. But the truth of the matter is, it's just that we haven't been taught, or we haven't been schooled to really get to know our inner world. We're living so much in our conscious state, walking around in this ego form, that what does the ego do? It creates the separation between you and what's outside of you, not recognizing that what's outside of you is also in you. It's not really outside of you. The ego creates the illusion that everything is outside of you. So this is why I call it the universe, because the language of the universe is the language of what's going on, in your subconscious, because the subconscious mind can connect to, everything, the all. A lot of ancient books like the Kabbalah talk about the all, ALL. Well, what is the all, right? It's something that we can't really grasp. It's like, is it the universe? It's the cosmos. It's what's beyond just the ego self, right? It's everything, or where everything, creation was born, whatever. But in our linear human minds, it's a hard concept to get, because we always want to put like scientific evidence to it. We always want to know all the answers, and sometimes we don't know all the answers, because a lot of stuff is still unknown. In his book on synchronicities, psychologist Dr. Kirby Surprise says that synchronicity can be thought of as a sort of cheat that allows the observing ego to view aspects of the internal and external world at the same time. But sometimes people get trapped staring in the mirror, okay? And once they start going inside and observing the inner world, it's like they can't come out of it. It's similar to getting trapped in just the ego conscious self and never thinking outside of the box of just like your human form, or people who maybe just are not spiritual, or they're against spirituality because maybe they have PTSD from something that they associate with being spiritual. But spirituality is not religion. It's not any organized human-made thing. It's basically getting to know yourself. And a lot of people don't know themselves because they're walking around just in this conscious state all the time of just like in their ego, where they they don't think beyond just what's handed to them or what they see, right? Their senses. They don't delve inside. Maybe it's scary, right? And then you have, people who get trapped with going. Once they go in, they like lock the door and they can't get out of the basement, right? So we have to find that place where we relearn or retrain ourselves, that it's a nice healthy balance between exploring the inner world through our dreams, through synchronicities, and really paying attention to when those things happen. Our emotions, our emotional state, especially in our dreams. I mean, if you have dreams, you remember your dreams, writing them down is a really good step to remembering them more and really delving into what's going on in your world right now. Like, for example, where are you in the dream, right? What does that mean for you? And, when the dream ends or the last thing you remember, what's the emotion that you have in the dream? And this is really exploring into the subconscious and the universe, the language of the universe, because the language is not going to be linear. It's not going to always make sense. It's going to be in symbols and signs. That is the language of the universe. In her book on divination and synchronicity by Marie-Louise von Franz, she quotes, "If somebody devoid of all illusions and all that makes the world of the ordinary ego goes into himself with utmost sincerity, then he comes to this central whole where creation, even in the cosmos, takes place." So this is going to go back to that bridging the gap between heaven and earth, this middle place between, really being honest with yourself and delving, exploring into what's going on in your subconscious, your inner world, what's causing you to, repeat patterns in your life maybe, what's causing all these emotions inside of you, what are you fearing, all those dark bits of yourself, shadow bits of yourself, you could say, what makes you maybe project onto other people, what's really going on in the subconscious, and, meeting that stuff with your higher self. Okay, having that spiritual aspect to recognizing that you're more than just this meat suit, as I like to call it, right? We have both within us. And once we tap into that middle place where we still have our grounding, we remain on earth, our feet planted on earth, but we also have a higher perspective on our life. And we think not only outside the box, but kind of from a bird's eye view, right, as the observer in our lives. And we learn that, every little minute thing is not as big of a deal as sometimes the ego human self makes it out to be, or that sometimes things lead to other things in our lives or happen for reasons. We don't get stuck, we don't get attached. So the human ego aspect of us gets attached on things and gets attached on emotions and gets frustrated and has all the human emotions, right? But once we learn to bridge that gap with that part of ourselves and the part of ourselves that can look beyond these attachments and look beyond, what's just going on in the physical world, and look beyond just the emotions, recognize that we're feeling emotions for a certain reason, and delving into those emotions can help us really understand ourselves so we can meet that higher perspective and be like, okay, that's happening because of this, or I'm feeling that way because of this and this pattern in my life, and these shadows I have inside and stuff like that. So it can be tricky, but we have to be open to it. And by being open, I mean being completely honest with yourself, not trying to filter what you're feeling, not trying to always repress what you're feeling, to face the dragon, face your demons, and really see who you are and what's going on with you. And that is going to help you. Once you start understanding and you start learning the language of your subconscious, that's opening up the world to your higher self. It's opening up the doorway to your cosmic self, okay? What's beyond just your human form. And your cosmic self knows no limits, knows no bounds, right? The ego self has limitations. But once you, unify the 2, unite the 2, you will thrive in your life because you're a more well-rounded individual. And, you know, like that video game, like that Donkey Kong character, really shifting your strategy on life and not doing the same things how you've been doing them, kind of opening your eyes, opening up your mind to different ways of viewing reality and recognizing, understanding that reality does come from inside of you. It's how you're responding to things that is how, you know, life is going to go down for you. You know, if you're living your life and you're having a horrible experience and you're always reacting and you're always in this ego, you know, form that's kind of like chained or shackled to your emotions or stuff, you're not recognizing, you're not being honest with yourself, you're not getting to know anything deeper than just what's going on a conscious level, right? Or you're so focused on what other people are doing and you're never delving into yourself and getting to know yourself. That is really what this is about. Being honest, being sincere, like the quote, you know, is so huge. It's so profound. And like I said, wisdom in life doesn't come from reading spirituality books necessarily or listening to some guru on a mountain. It comes from inside you and recognizing, seeing yourself, really, really seeing yourself. Here's a question. Do you feel like you see yourself right now? And for some people, that's going to sound like a really odd question, like what? But for others, it's a really profound question. It's something that you can really dive into if you want to, if you're open to it. Do you really see yourself? And do you have that connection? Do you have that where you're meeting in the middle between your higher cosmic self, you know, your spirit, whatever you call it, heaven, Shen, Yang, and just your essence, your biology, your constitution. What makes you human, right? Meeting in the middle is so profound in life. So anyway, I hope you found this video helpful. Keep thriving in life, keep doing what you're doing, keep, you know, questioning things, keep opening your eyes to different possibilities and different ways of seeing the world and seeing your life. It's only going to help you thrive. It's only going to help you understand yourself better, you know. Keep diving deep into the depths of your ocean, but don't get caught there, right? Know when you need to come back up for air, okay? Because you can't live in the mirror forever. You can't live in your reflections because you can get trapped there. You can get caught there, just like you can get caught in other realms, right? You have to have that balance, the balance between yin and yang, the balance of everything in life. So have a great day. Subscribe if you haven't done so. I put out new videos on all kinds of cool topics every single week for you. Hit that like button, share it with your friends. I really appreciate you watching and supporting this channel to help make it grow a little bit and spread the good word. And on that note, have a good one. Peace.